How would explain acceleration? मुझे कोई बुकिश डेफिनेशन नहीं चाहिए, मुझे सिर्फ ये बता दो कि if you are able to grab what is acceleration, what do you think acceleration is? Arisa has to answer. Arisa, are you with us?
Um, is it how fast an object changes its direction?
Okay, so acceleration is related to how fast an object. uh, यहाँ तक तो बात सही है, how fast an object. So rather than changes, we can say how fast an object is moving. Simple terms में अगर हम रखें, so or changing its speed or velocity. That's what acceleration is. Manahil, what do you think? What do you think by the term maybe velocity? What do you think what velocity is? मुझे कोई बुकिश definition नहीं चाहिए. I just want you to answer this. What do you know about velocity? What is velocity? Manahil has to answer.
It is the speed and how the object is moving and in what direction it is moving in.
So velocity is a speed, and it tells us the nature of motion. What That's what you said. If I kind of simplify it. ठीक है, okay. तो अब before we start up with the lesson motion itself, अब the idea is I'm not going to teach you motion right now. I'm just going to help you understand what basic terms in physics in motion are referred to as. ठीक है, that's the journey. आज हम ये करना चाह रहे हैं. And it is not related to your syllabus. It is only related to, I'm just kind of going through the ABC of motion. ठीक है, तो ये पता होना चाहिए. तो पता होने के साथ साथ you have to memorize it as well, क्योंकि examiner is going to ask you questions on these terms. ठीक है, so if you are unable to know what the examiner wants you to know by a question, you won't be able to understand the idea. तो ये पता होगा तो फिर हम पढ़ सकेंगे. So let's start up with a basic term, distance. मैं कोई ऑफिशियल इसकी डेफिनेशन आपको नहीं दे रहा, मुझे कोई डेफिनेशन लिखाने का शौक नहीं है. कभी एग्जाम में आज तक क्वेश्चन नहीं आया डिफाइन डिस्टेंस. तो लेट्स नॉट गो इनटू दोस, बट लेट्स अंडरस्टैंड इट. डिस्टेंस का क्या मतलब होगा? So distance essentially is going to be referred as a gap between any 2 points in any direction. This could be referred to as a distance. This could be referred to as a distance. Anything that's between any two specific points is distance. Mathematically speaking, distance is represented by s, and in physics, it is measured in meters. ये fixed है, ठीक है? So obviously we can use other units as kilometers, we can use centimeters, we can use millimeters, but the standard unit or the SI unit, this is International System of Units, SI units में or physics में, you have to convert kilometers into meters. That's by multiplying it with 1,000. You have to convert centimeters into meters. That's what then you have to divide it with 100. You have to convert millimeters into meters. That's what when you have to divide it with 1,000. तो ये याद करना पड़ेगा, ये फैक्ट है. ठीक है, अच्छा. Is while explaining distance, I mentioned that it is any kind of a gap. It has nothing to do with direction. So some example statements would be like, examiner can say a car moves 100 kilometers. Okay, that's what the information is referring to. This is distance. Up now, the understanding is we don't know where the car is moving. Why, whether the car is going north or east or west or south or 30 degrees north. We don't know. All we know is car moves 100 kilometers. So there is no clue about direction. That's what distance is. ठीक है, ये बताओ, ये बात समझ में आती है?
Yes.
Parisa, what about you?
Yes.
Okay. Now the other side is, if I just, ask you, if distance has nothing to do with direction, so isn't it, looking incomplete information? Do you feel, is this complete information? So you should not feel, that's an absurd way of explaining something. So if someone asks me where am I and where am I supposed to be, I cannot just say I'm, 100 miles out. The idea is, where on earth are you 100 miles out? Where on earth, in this right direction, in the wrong direction, in the east direction, in the west, where are you 100 miles out? What do you mean by 100 kilometers something traveled? So this looks incomplete, but this happens at times. This happens, at certain instances. ऐसा होता है. So that's what distance is all about. But the idea is, if it is not having any direction, then that makes distance a scalar quantity. This is relevant to the last topic which you have done already. Scalar quantity होती है हर वो चीज जिसमें डायरेक्शन की कोई बात नहीं होती, no information, no clue, and that is what it makes very easier to understand. So since it is a scalar quantity, so distance can only be added mathematically, simply, ठीक है, or they can be, kept constant. Now what does that has to mean? अभी मैं आपको एग्जांपल से भी समझाऊंगा, तो अभी इसको लिख लेते हैं. So distance, since it is a scalar quantity, so I'm just telling you that if it is a scalar quantity, so scalar quantities can only be added simply, or they stay constant, they doesn't change. There is no way on earth that a scalar quantity can be negative. No, not at all. You cannot say a car moved minus 100 kilometers. ये हो नहीं सकता है, ठीक है? You cannot do this. That's not allowed. And when I say they are simply added, what does that mean? So if I say a car moved 100 kilometers to city A, then it moved 200 kilometers to city B. So the total distance traveled by the car by just looking at this is 300 kilometers. But this is, totally absurd. It may not actually be 300 kilometers, but we are just referring it to as 300 kilometers because what we did, we are calculating distance, and distances are simply added. No, no kind of maths is involved, deeper calculations are involved, no right angle, triangles are involved, no Pythagoras theorems are involved, nothing like that. You just add them up. That is one of the reasons you can never say this would be negative. So for example, let's make it a bit tricky. So there is a car, I'm going to show it. So this is a car that moved like this. That's 100 kilometers to some city A. Okay? Then from here, it came back all the way here to, city B. That's where city B is. So the total distance my car traveled is 300 kilometers. 100 plus 200, that's, 300. Let's take another example. If I say there is a boy who starts moving in a specific direction and he moves 5 miles to some point A, and then he returns back to his original position. So what's the distance traveled by this, boy? So distance is still traveled by this boy would be 10 miles. He cannot say 5 miles जाने में लगे थे तो वापस आने में -5 miles होगा. We cannot say that. It's not possible because it's distance. Do you guys get this?
Yes.
What about you, Parisa?
I do, yes.
Okay, that's nice. That's very good. Now, the third example would be if I associate a specific direction to distance, that's where the things they change. So, say we have not yet defined distance, right? We are not into defining distance. हमें कोई जरूरत भी नहीं है define करने की. The idea is just to understand what distance is. अच्छा, अब हमने कहा कि distance was a gap between any two specific points without referring to the direction. It could be a straight line gap or it could be a curly trajectory and all, and represented by S and measured in meters, and it doesn't have its direction, so it makes distance a scalar quantity. But what if I say 100 kilometers, car traveled 100 kilometers north? So first thing, that's more, more informative. So I am not now getting any absurd idea. I'm very, clear on that there is a car that traveled 100 kilometers in this specific direction. Now I am not referring to only a number. What I've done, I've added a direction to it. So this means this is not distance, but displacement. Now, since displacement is associated to a direction, this becomes vector. And vectors can be added or subtracted using some graphs, drawings, or complex calculations. They are not as simple to, treat as scalars. Now, what do I mean by that? So if I say, this car traveled 100 kilometers north, okay. Then from north, it traveled 200 kilometers. Dhyan se dekhna what I'm just saying. From north, after it traveled north, now it traveled 200 kilometers east. Okay, now what does that mean? This car is that right now, let's say, I think I got disconnected. Can you guys hear me now?
Yes.
Can you guys see my screen? Can you guys see my screen clearly?
Yes, your screen is visible.
So, did you guys heard what I was referring to while I was explaining displacement, or was that lost?
No, we couldn't hear you.
Acha, theek hai. Let's do it again. So if I say there is a car that traveled, say, 100 kilometers north, that means now I have a number and a specific direction as well. So this direction converted this number to displacement. So displacement comes with a direction. That is what I was referring to. So if I want to draw this, I can draw this, that was my car. It traveled like this because this points towards north. So this is the displacement of the car. Now, since displacement is associated with a direction, so we can say displacement is a vector quantity and vectors can be added or subtracted. So take notes. What do I mean by key? They can be added or subtracted. Right here, we were discussing distance. And here in distances, what we said, it can never ever be negative. Just go through this. It can never be negative. That's what I did, right? कभी भी negative नहीं हो सकता ये. Negative हो ही नहीं सकता क्योंकि ये distance है. ये scalar quantity है. Scalar quantity या तो add होती है या उतनी ही रहती है जितनी है. Scalar quantity को कभी आप subtract नहीं कर सकते. ठीक है? But vectors, they can be added and they can be subtracted as well by using, we have different techniques. We can draw graphs, we can, do sketches, we can do some mathematical calculations, kuch bhi kar sakte hain. That's what vectors are. Now, what I was referring to while I got disconnected was the idea, if let's say this car traveled here, starting from here till here, that was the first part of the journey, right? So that was north. Okay? And that was 100 kilometers. Okay? Then from north, it is traveling to east. Now, what do I mean by that? So east is like this, right? So let's draw it. So that's east. So that's now 200 kilometers. Now, if I ask you guys, calculate the total displacement. Now, what would be the answer be to that? So we cannot just say total displacement or the displacement is just, add 100 and 200. So you can just do 100 plus 200. So that's 300 displacement. No, that's not right. Reason is 100 kilometers in a specific direction. And then there is a change in direction. And that again is going from, north to east. So net displacement or the total displacement would be from where it started. So here it started. And where it ended, here it ended. That's the journey end. So displacement would be like this. That's the net displacement. So how do I figure this out? So it's, if if you're looking this carefully, what you can get is that becomes a right angle triangle, right? So if it is a right angled triangle, so we can say that's hypotenuse, right? One of these has to be adjacent and the other one has to be opposite. So what we can do is we can use Pythagoras theorem to find out hypotenuse. So that was adjacent squared and opposite squared, right? So since we know adjacent and opposite sides, we can find out hypotenuse. Do you guys get this part? This
Sir, will we
calculation.
have to use this Pythagoras theorem in all displacement questions?
Yes, all, even not only all displacement questions, but anything that is vector. Now, if the same situation is given, beta Parisa, आपको बात समझ में आई है? हमारे पास
Yes.
oh, we have some other student as well. Who's this? Hadassah. Am I calling your name correctly, Hadassah, or what's your name? I'm really sorry, I don't know how to pronounce.
It's Hatsa.
It's Hatsa. Okay, Hatsa. I never knew when you joined in. So far, are you following? So far, are you understanding? So far, you want to say something?
No, it's all clear.
That's nice. That's wonderful. अच्छा, तो where was I? So yeah, the question Menahil asked was, sir, हमें हमेशा ये करना होगा? The idea is yes, mostly, but there may be some exceptions to it. लेकिन अभी exceptions पे नहीं जा रही, अभी generic बातें कर रहे हैं. So for the same question, if I say, let's do something more creative. अच्छा, कीप दिस थिंग इन माइंड, अभी हमने काइनेमैटिक्स या फिजिक्स 5054 या 0625 पढ़ना ही नहीं शुरू किया है. काइनेमैटिक्स की तो हम बात ही नहीं कर रहे हैं, हम तो एबीसीडी ऑफ काइनेमैटिक्स की बात कर रहे हैं. ठीक है, अभी हमने लेसन पढ़ा ही नहीं है. जब हम पढ़ लेंगे तब की हम बातें अलग करेंगे, अभी तो हमने लेसन पढ़ा ही नहीं है. तो अभी ये मत सोचना कि ये एग्जाम में कहाँ है, ऐसा कुछ भी एग्जाम में नहीं आया. एग्जाम इज गोइंग टू बी मोर डिफिकल्ट. ये तो बड़े मजे की बात हो रही है ना, ये तो कोई बात ही नहीं हो रही. तो दिस हैज टू बी राइट, केप्ट राइट एट द सेंटर ऑफ योर हेड. नाउ लेट्स से देयर इज अ क्वेश्चन and question shows you something like this. There is an aeroplane. अब तुम में से कोई हंसा है ना मेरे एरोप्लेन पे, मैं निकल के मारूंगा इसको. So that's an aeroplane that flies east. So it goes like 100 kilometers east. Then from here this plane goes like this. So that's south. So we can say that's again 100 kilometers. Okay. And then it's like from south it goes like this. So that's 200 kilometers here, and this is going to be west. Okay na bhai? That's the question. So now I'm asking, calculate the net displacement of the plane. So how would we go about it? अब ये मैंने आपको अगेन मैं बात कर रहा हूँ बार बार समझाने के लिए. अभी मैंने आपको फिजिक्स का कोई क्वेश्चन नहीं दिया है क्या. अब हाउ वुड यू डू इट? सो द आइडिया वाज डिस्प्लेसमेंट हैज टू स्टार्ट and it has to end. So the journey started here. Makes sense? And it ended here. That's where it landed. Okay. So now let's connect this. ठीक है, अब हमने इसे कनेक्ट कर दिया. So this red line is what we intend to find out. ऐसे ही. So up, can you use Pythagoras theorem to find this out? So the correct answer, well, maybe if you're good in maths, you can draw some lines, figure out this is going to be 100, this would be something, and then you might land up at hypotenuse in some way if you're a maths guy. हम physics पढ़ रहे हैं, हम इतना कोई maths में deeper dive we don't want to do it. We have more good things in life to do. तो अब क्या करना है हमने? So what we are going to do is, we are not going to solve this situation using hypotenuse squared is equals to adjacent squared plus opposite squared, because it is going to be too much calculation in simple terms. It is going to be very difficult. So any other things that we can do? Would you want me to get an idea about how can you think about it, or would you want to help me out? How can I figure this out? Any suggestions from your side? Anything you want, you guys want to add? How do I figure this out besides this? Is there any way? Give it a thought. I'm not interested in this. What else should I do? No answer? Okay, कोई बात नहीं. So what we can do is, rather going through this hypotenuse thing, what if we draw a scale diagram? So, this might be a bit difficult thing today, but I would want you guys to do it with me. So what I want you guys right now is to have a notebook, a pencil, and a ruler, maybe an eraser. Can you do that for me? A ruler, a notebook, pencil and eraser. I'll give you 2 minutes. वो लेके आओ और फिर मुझे बताओ चैट में कि हाँ we are prepared to do something. And I'll do it with you guys so that you understand it how to do it. I have one response. Ready with the stuff. What about you, Parisa and Manahil?
Yes, I've got my stuff.
You got your stuff. What about you, Parisa? Same? Okay, that's nice. So let's take, just think of a scale. I have a page, and that has a specific size. Obviously, I believe and I acknowledge that you guys won't have a page of size 100 kilometers, right? No one has that. So let's figure out a scale. Okay, 100 kilometers, one length, 100 kilometers, another length, 200 kilometers, another length. So let's possibly, think of a scale. So if I do 20 kilometers as 1 centimeter, then for 100 kilometers, it should be how many centimeters, by the way?
5.
5 centimeters. That's nice. So is there any, quantum physics involved or Einstein's equations of relativity here? They are being discussed, that what I have thought about it, and how I'm going to enter a wormhole and, enter into the other galaxy, and using my transponder, I can came back. No, it was just basic, general knowledge. That is not even physics. I thought of the values I have. 100 kilometers likha hua hai, 200 kilometers likha hua hai. Then I thought about it. Yeah, I have a page. Itna sa hai, chota sa. How to figure out, how much lines to draw and what length. So I've thought of a scale, and it is not to memorize. ये आपके ऊपर डिपेंडेंट है. Whatever you are comfortable with, जो आपने करना आप कर सकते हो. ठीक है. So if I'm choosing this as my scale, that means every length of 20 kilometers means 1 centimeters on page. ठीक है. Okay. So I'm going to draw two lengths, 5 centimeters each, one towards east, right? That's east. And then right at the head of the east, I'm going to go south, and that is still 5 centimeters, right? That's what I'm going to do. Then after doing that, I have another length that's 200 kilometers. So 200 kilometers ke liye, I should use my ruler to draw a length of around how much centimeters, by the way?
10.
10 centimeters. That's nice. So let's do 10 centimeters right where it ended at south. So I'm going to draw here on my page a length that's 10 centimeters in length, and I have it done right now. And I believe you guys have done it too. Maybe you guys were thinking, so you can try it out. Once you are done with this sketching, use another colored pencil to find out the length of the start and the end so that it becomes very much visible and we get to compare each other's answer. Okay? Now do it and send a picture on the WhatsApp group or the Zoom chat, whatever you're comfortable with. And then I'm going to share mine and then we'll see who did what. Or else I can do one thing, I can share mine initially and then you guys can draw it and then you can share it, whatever you think. So if you have done this already with, with your diagrams and all, you should let me know the length of this line. This length. What's your length? And you have to share your picture. That is what I'm looking for.
I'm getting almost 7 centimeters.
That's nice. That's nice.
Mine's 7 centimeters too.
Who's left? I have two answers.
I'm getting almost 6.8.
6.8. 6.8 is not 6, by the way. So 6.8 means that's, that's workable. So ठीक है. So now pictures. Send me your answers. I can bet तुम लोगों से बहुत अच्छी पिक्चर बनाई होगी मैंने. Prove me wrong. I've shared my drawing on your WhatsApp group. Digitally मैं ड्रॉ नहीं कर रहा अपने iPad पे अभी. उसका रीजन ये कि एग्जाम्स में यू आर नॉट अलाउड टू यूज iPad येट, राइट? एंड कैम्ब्रिज से 2030 में हम iPad यूज करवाएंगे बच्चों से. तो अभी मैं आपको, अगर आप चाहते हो कि मैं बहुत ही किस्म का हाई प्रोफाइल डायग्राम डिजिटली बनाऊं, तो आप बेवकूफ़ इंसान हो और आपके टीचर भी बेवकूफ़ आपको बना रहा है अगर आपको वो डिजिटली पढ़ा रहा है. एक्चुअल में पेज के ऊपर ड्राइंग करनी होगी, तो मैंने पेज पे ड्रॉ करके भेजी है. iPad पे मैं एंड में जब आप लोग प्रो हो जाओगे ना तब ड्रॉ करके भेज रहा हूँ. नहीं मनाहिल इतना मतलब इट्स नॉट दैट मच क्लियर. मेरी वाली ज्यादा अच्छी है ड्राइंग. आप अपने कॉर्नर्स देखो, दैट इज व्हाट आई सेड. आई एम गोइंग टू हैव अ प्रो डायग्राम. परीसा हैज गिवन मी अ चैलेंज. हाँ बट परीसा मेस्ड अप विद दिस लाइन. चलो दिख गया मुझे. अच्छा है, ये उसको भेजता हूँ. परीसा का फीडबैक मैंने भेज दिया उसको व्हाट्सएप पे. ठीक है. व्हाट इज दिस, व्हाट इज दिस परीसा? मजाक हो रहा है मतलब तफरी चल रही है मतलब? क्या किया ये? मनाहिल का जो है ना एरर, मनाहिल का एरर एरर नहीं है, बस मनाहिल का ऐसी बस मतलब बस ऐसी बस वो पेंसिल से बनाया ना उसने, तो इट्स नॉट लाइक वो वाइब नहीं आ रही है. दैट्स व्हाट आई वांट टू से. तो समझ आया. द आइडिया वाज टू द क्वेश्चन व्हिच मनाहिल पुट अप वाज कि सर हमेशा हमें पाइथागोरस थ्योरम यूज करना होगा. द आंसर आई सेड वाज हाँ यूजुअली. बट हियर वो यूज करना बहुत ही कोई पैथेटिक मतलब काम होगा. आप एग्जाम्स में 4 मार्क्स के लिए मतलब अगर आपको 2 पेज की कैलकुलेशन करनी पड़े, सो इट्स लाइक कुछ गलत, देयर इज समथिंग रॉन्ग. तो ऐसा होना नहीं चाहिए. ये बताओ, ये बात समझ में आती है? द डायग्राम यू वांट टू अंडरस्टैंड, आपने आपको समझ में आ गई बात? प्लीज रिस्पॉन्स. सबको समझ में आ गई ये बात?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, what about you, Hadisa? Did you get this? and I'm still waiting for the image. You haven't shared it yet. Hadassa, are you with us? अच्छा उसने भेज दिया. I got it.
Yes, sir, I shared it in the chat.
So why were we getting 6.8? That's what I'm looking for.
I drawed it again and it got
Yeah,
7.
that's 7. Yeah, but she drew a very good aeroplane, a lot better than mine. But I asked her not to, make fun of mine. Okay, I got it. Nice. That means you guys are doing well. So the idea that vectors are treated differently is explained here. So scalars के लिए अच्छा, for the same question, अब देखें मजे की बात. If that was not the question, if the question was calculate the total distance covered by the plane. So what was the total distance covered by the plane? So it would be simply 400 kilometers. Simple maths. So we did 100 plus 100 plus 200. That's distance. That's, what distance is. And displacement is around, abhi jo line humne draw kiya, that's 7 centimeters almost. That means if that was the proportion here, for each centimeter, I had 20 kilometers. So 7 centimeters ke liye this should be 140 kilometers. Or specifically फिर इसकी ये direction भी होगी. If I ask you this direction, what is this direction? ये जो इस तरह से जा रहा है, what kind of direction is this? क्या कहोगे इसे? Let's have a direction, standard here. That's north, south, that's east and west. So this plane is somewhere here. So क्या कहेंगे? South west कहेंगे?
Yes, southwest.
So do you guys get this part? Is this clear to everyone? Is this understood?
Yes.
So this was generically speaking distance. अच्छा, अब examiner or physics guys are not going to tell you, oh, behold, I'm going to give you a question of displacement. ऐसा कुछ भी नहीं होगा भाई. He is going to give you a question and then you are there to judge, is he talking about distance or is he talking about displacement? That's the most confusing part. वो कभी अभी तो मैं आपको बता रहा था ना बड़े मजे से, it was all good honeymoon period, distance बेटा, distance है भी, distance पढ़ लो, distance पढ़ लो, distance पढ़ लो, बता रहा था. Then I moved on to displacement. भाई एग्जाम में ऐसे थोड़ी होगा. He is going to come up with a question and then you have to figure it out whether it's distance or displacement. If it is distance, it is treated in a different way. If it is displacement, it is treated in a different way. बात समझ में आ गई? Okay, so फिलहाल क्योंकि आज I'm very tired, I'm going to end this session अभी because I have still one more meeting to go for my day. तो आज मैं आपकी जल्दी जान छोड़ देता हूँ. डोंट बी हैप्पी. कल आपका असेसमेंट है जो आपको देना है और आपको पता है आप पूरे होश आवाज में मेरी बात सुन रहे हैं, राइट? Parisa and Manahil, I need you to acknowledge this.
Yes.
I have an acknowledgement from Manahil. I'm waiting for Parisa's acknowledgement.
Okay.
Okay. So Hadissa, let's spare you for the first assessment because it is just your today's first session. And, in the next sessions, we won't be that much time, So these guys has to appear in a very complicated, assessment digitally where their parents would be sitting right on their head so they don't cheat in other ways, anything possible. So, okay. It was very good to have you guys here. Take care. Love this. See you in the next.